You guys can go ahead and take a seat, and if you want to get comfortable, you can turn your seat so you face me, if that would make you feel better, so you're not, hurting, your neck isn't all tweaked out halfway through. But hey, if you guys have a Bible, I want you guys to turn to Daniel chapter 1. That's where we'll be at today. I'll give you guys a second to get there. I'm super excited as we head to Elevate this week for middle school camp. That's going to be awesome. I think there's something special about spending some time in the wilderness. And shameless plug on that note, we are going backpacking. So if you're on vacation or if it doesn't work out, if you're interested but you don't know, it doesn't matter. I just want you to come and talk to me if you have any interest in backpacking, because that's something that I would love to have a conversation with you about, and we would love to make things happen. And so if you guys are there, you guys can follow along with Daniel chapter 1. We're just going to read through that story, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So Daniel chapter 1, verse 1. It says, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. There he carried off the temple of his God into Babylonia and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace, just like a lot of you young men here today. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they were to enter the king's service. Among those who were chosen were some from Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar; to Hananiah, Shadrach; to Mishael, Meshach; and Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself in this way. Now God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel. But the official told Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you. Daniel then said to the guard, whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the younger men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables instead. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into his service, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them and found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all of the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. And Daniel remained there until the first year of King Cyrus. We pray with me. God, I pray this morning we can open our eyes and open our ears to your message, the story of Daniel. Although it may have happened so long ago, God, this story is so applicable to our lives today. God, speak through me this morning so we may be challenged in a very practical way. God, we love you. Here we pray, amen. So guys, I was going to open with a question this morning, and I think the question is already answered. I was going to ask you guys to raise your hand if you're competitive, but then I realized by the game this morning that you guys are viciously competitive. You guys are like tearing at each other's necks this morning because you guys think you're better than the other table. And this, I know, is so true of myself. I'm incredibly competitive. Brett's pointing to them. They're losers. They're losers, huh? Is that what?
No,
Is
he
that?
knows we're very competitive.
Yep.
And way far ahead.
Hey, I love it. I love it. So we get to come and be competitive with each other. And I know growing up, I was incredibly competitive with my brother. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's kicking a soccer ball. It doesn't matter if we're swimming across a pool. It doesn't matter if we're brushing our teeth or we're eating our lunch. Like, I have to beat him in whatever that looks like. It doesn't matter, right? Anybody like this in the room? Like, anybody incredibly competitive? Maybe with your siblings, with your friends, anybody? I have a question. Have you ever been in a competitive situation where you got into a game and realized, wow, like, I don't fit in this group? Have you ever been in a soccer game or some sort of competition or maybe a video game where you realize, well, I don't belong here? You ever get, like, I remember playing Call of Duty back in the day, and I would sit down and I would get into a game and realize, wow, like, these people are so much better than me. I do not belong here. And I'm just getting killed over and over and over again, and I don't get any kills or anything. Like, I'm just losing terribly. Has anybody ever been in this situation? Maybe you're on the soccer field or whatever that sport is for you, and you get on the field and you're there with your teammates, and like minutes into the game they score and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long game. Or maybe you've played baseball before and you're like you're in the second inning and they're already like 20 runs up and you're like, please, I just want to get to the mercy rule already, like where they're killing us. There's situations sometimes where we feel like we don't belong. See, I'm incredibly competitive, and I get in these situations and I get frustrated. I'll be like, man, I don't belong here. These people are so much better than me. And although this is not a competitive situation, the story of Daniel is rather similar. Daniel felt like he did not belong. Daniel was taken from his homeland and taken into a brand new situation where he had probably never been before. He was exposed to a new religion, a new way of life, a new way of eating. Daniel was exposed to this complete new society. What happened was the king came into this city and took it over. And the king then took this city that he had taken over and basically had a beauty pageant. He said, we want all the good-looking dudes. We want all the guys who are smarter than the rest. We want to take these young men and take them from this city, and we want to take them back home. Why would they do this? It makes sense because they wanted to take these young men and they wanted to go put them in their city and have them serve their king. They said, we want to take these good-looking, smart, brilliant young men. We want to put them through this three-year program to brainwash them, to change them, to make them think as we do, and then they can serve our king. We want our king to be served by the best. And so that's exactly what happened. These young men, it talks about Daniel and his friends were taken from their society, where they were taken from their city. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of Daniel just for a second. Think about if this was you. Think about if someone came in, a power came in, overtook our city, overtook maybe our country, and said, I'm going to pull you from where you're at, and I'm going to take you to this faraway land. This land that he's never been to before, where they speak a different language, they eat a different kind of food. Put yourself in this situation for a second and think about how crazy, how difficult, and how uncomfortable this would feel. Daniel was stripped of everything he ever knew and was thrown in to the deep end. He was not only exposed to a brand new culture, but he was actually they were forcing it upon him. They said, you are not allowed to worship your God anymore. You now have to worship our new gods. You now have to speak our language. You now have to also go by a new name. See, Daniel was not only put into this new society and all of these things happened, he was actually given a new name. Because something happens when you're given a new name. Daniel was then called something else. And in this moment, this governing power told him, you are nothing of what you come from. Even your name doesn't mean anything anymore. We will not call you what your parents call you. Everything that you know, everything that you are, everything that you have been is going to be stripped from you, and you are no longer any of that. You are now new. You are new in this Babylonian culture. But see, Daniel had a choice. Because Daniel knew the instructions from the Lord. And although Daniel was thrown into the faraway land, into this new culture, Daniel chose to be obedient to the Lord. Daniel chose not to obey and to worship these new gods, but he decided to be obedient and faithful to the Lord, no matter this change that had happened. And I guess what I'm asking you this morning is, are you willing to be obedient when times get rough? Because the reality is, you will live a lot of life where you go into situations where you look different. Daniel, no doubt, looked different from the rest of the people. He says, I'm not going to eat your food. I'm not going to worship your God. Daniel looked drastically different than everybody else around him. And I guess what I'm asking you is, are you willing to be obedient to God? Obedient to the calling that God has put on your life? Because you will constantly be in situations. You will be in circles of people. You will maybe be in cultures that do not act and worship the way that you do. A very practical reality for a lot of you is school. You go to school every day and you go and you bump shoulders with people that do not believe what you believe. They do not think the way that you think. You decided, man, this Bible is important to me, and God, I want to follow you and I want to live according to your will. But you constantly come in contact with people that think differently than you. And I guess I'm asking, are you willing to be obedient to this? Are you willing to be obedient, and when all else fails? Daniel was thrown into the deep end. I think of this situation, I think of a river. And I think of this water flowing down the river. And maybe some of you guys have seen this before. Have you ever seen the bear sitting at the river, and then the fish jumping out and the bear just snatching the fish? Have anybody ever seen this before? Maybe not in person, maybe you've seen a video or a picture, but this idea of the water's quickly moving down. And the bear knows that the fish is trying to get upstream. They're going to jump out of the water, and so the bear sits there and waits to see this fish. And the fish goes, he skyrockets out into the air, and then it climbs, it falls back in the water, and the bear snatches it. But you think about what this fish is actually doing. This fish is swimming upstream. This water is pushing and pushing and pushing water down this river. The water just keeps coming and coming, and these fish want to go upstream. So they're swimming and swimming and swimming upstream. But the water continues to come, and the water continues to come. And I tend to think that Daniel's situation was rather similar to this one. He probably felt like he was going upstream. I feel like Daniel in that time was sitting there, man, and he was getting brainwashed. He was getting taught all these new things, this complete new way of living. And he was sitting there, and he was trying to walk. He was trying to be obedient with the Lord, but everything was telling him different. You think this was tiring for Daniel? Because I do. I think this was super tiring for Daniel. As he continued, imagine that fish trying to swim upstream and the water continually trying to push you back down. I think Daniel felt like he was a fish swimming against the current. I think Daniel felt like he was a fish swimming upstream, continually getting pressed on and getting pressed on and getting pressed on. Sometimes you might feel like this in your life. You may get teased because you live a certain way. People might laugh at you because you have chosen to be obedient to the Lord, to live a certain way. You have chosen that you will not speak like everybody else says it's okay. You won't use the language that this culture says is okay to use. You've made a decision to stand apart. And you may get laughed at. You may get teased. You may be tempted to look like everyone else. Culture tells us it's okay to look at certain things, to laugh about certain things, to joke about certain things. And you have said, God has told me not to do these things. But culture continues to say it's okay. We're against the current. We're against culture, guys. This Bible calls us to a certain way of living, and Daniel got it. Even though Daniel was thrown into this new kingdom and into this new society, he says, I am going to be obedient to the Lord. Are you willing to be obedient? Are you willing to be like the fish that goes upstream? The water might keep pounding on you and pounding on you, but you know that God has called you in a certain direction. I want to read a passage for you. A few verses. In Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7 gives us some more clarity on this. In Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 through 14, it says, Enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Matthew's telling us here, man, many people walk the road. There's a wide road that leads to destruction, and many people are on it. But narrow is the road, narrow is the door that leads to life, that leads to Jesus. If we are living according to how God calls us to live, we will look different. People will say, man, those people are going down the narrow road. They're not living like the rest of us. And you may get teased for it. And truly, it is a climb. You might say, Cobie, you are like depressing me right now. Like, this is such sad information. Why are you like, I didn't get to come to church just to like feel terrible about myself. But the reality is this is our calling. But what I grab from this passage that I want to encourage you guys with this morning is there is a truth in this story that I want us to hold on to. Daniel was not alone during this time. Daniel had his squad. Daniel had his crew. Daniel had the boys, if you will. Right? Daniel had his friends that he was with. He was not alone. When he was grabbed from this city and taken to Babylon, he was taken with his fellow brothers. And they chose together as a community to stand together for the things that they were taught since the beginning. And what I want to ask you this morning is, have you surrounded yourself with people that can encourage you in your faith when the times get rough? Do you have people in your life that can hold you accountable? They can ask you the hard questions? Do you have friends who hold you to that higher level? Because, man, your friends show the direction that you're going. Yourself with the people that you hang out with on a daily basis, these are the people that you will influence and that will influence you. Daniel had his group of guys that, although they were stripped from their society and taken into this faraway land, they stood together. And I want to encourage you that when times get rough, that when you feel discouraged, when you are teased or mocked for the way that you're living your life, be inspired by Daniel. Daniel was able to stand apart. And I want you to be able to stand apart as well. But know, importantly, that you're not alone. There are people here that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. And sometimes it can be easy to think, man, I'm on my own. That as you leave this place on Sunday morning or Thursday night, the rest of the week that you feel like this is your battle. And ultimately, it's your relationship with God. But God does not call us to do it alone. God calls us to come together with our brothers and sisters in Christ and do this journey, do life together. This life was never meant to do on our own. This life is meant to do in community. So I'm asking you this morning, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you surrounding yourself with people that can encourage you when times get rough? In the good times and in the bad times. Are you surrounding yourself with people that can help lift your chin up when you're sad or discouraged? Because man, when you're by yourself and when you're swimming upstream, it can get difficult and it can feel hard. But when you're with people, you can do so much more together. Can I get a volunteer? I need someone on stage right now. I think I need some help right now. You want to come up here real quick? All right, come here. I need some help. I want to kind of illustrate what we're talking about. What's your name, buddy? Christian. All right, so Christian, what I want you to do is I want you to try to push me over. Okay? You rose your hand. You said you were super competitive, and I think I'm stronger than you. Okay? Do you think you're stronger than me? Yeah. Oh, I'm a little scared now, guys. I didn't know this. All right, Colin. All right. So what I want you to do is I'm going to get in a position. I want you to try to push me so I fall over. You got that? All right. So I'm going to kind of go like this, and you're going to give me a push on the back, and let's see if you can push me over right now. Go for it. All right. So that was like a little bit of a push. All right. Can someone help him out right now? All right. You want to come in? All right. Come on up.
Oh, Nora.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. And what is your name so everybody can know? Nora. All right, so you guys are both going to come side by side now. All right, so stand shoulder to shoulder. And now I'm going to stand here really strong, and I want you guys to push me over. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, it's getting a little harder. See that? You guys see it? Thank you. You saved my life probably. All right, and then I want one more person. Let's see. All right, right here. Fast hand. All right. Now you guys got to kind of get in here. All right, now I want you to see this. Okay, you guys see the first push that happened on me. Okay, and now stand shoulder to shoulder, real tight, and I'm going to stand here, and on together on 3, I want you guys all to give me a big push. All right, just throw me to the ground. I dare you. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, see that? All right, good. Can we give a round of applause? Good job. I'm sorry. Did you guys see what just happened? Did you guys see what just happened with that? When he came up and gave me that first push, there was kind of a little like I'm getting pushed, right? I felt it. And then the second person came up and I'm kind of feel it a little bit more. And then on that third one, I physically could not hold myself in my feet anymore. I got pushed over where I had to get that second foot and save me. But what I want you guys to understand is this is kind of similar to life. When you have someone big and strong, like myself, right? Like standing in front of you, it might feel like a battle. It might feel like something that you cannot push through. I don't know what that is for you. You might be discouraged. You might feel worn down. And you feel like, man, I can't do this on my own. And God says you're not called to do it on your own. You're called to get your brothers and sisters in Christ. And how these 3 individuals came up here and worked together and said, Cobie, we got you, and push and push and push. 3 is stronger than 1. 2 is stronger than 1. And think about this group for a second. If we decided to come all together and said 50 is stronger than 1. 100 is stronger than 1. If we decided, man, LP students is stronger than 1. Are you guys catching what I'm saying? That's right. That's right. I like it. I like the feedback. Someone's here. But what I'm saying, guys, is that if we decided to come together and said we're going to do this together, guys, unity is powerful. And I want us to catch this. Daniel had it hard. Daniel had it difficult. His life was difficult and not easy, and a lot harder than a lot of ours. But the reality is Daniel got it. He said, I'm going to come together with my brothers, and we're going to work on this together. You might not be able to push through this. You may not be able to go through life on your own. You might get discouraged and worn down because the reality is you are not strong enough. But the reality is when you get together with your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, we can do this together. It's my encouragement to you this morning. Think about who you're surrounding yourself with. Think about who you're hanging out with. Thinking about these people. Are they tearing you down or are they lifting you up? Are these brothers and sisters who you can lock arms together and tear through things together? I encourage you guys to talk about that this morning. Can we pray? Can we do a family style? Can you hold the hand of those next to you? I know we got cooties in the house. Guys, we're going to do this as a symbol right now, okay? Hold the hand of those next to you because I want to look out for a second, look around the room at those you're linked with. This is your family. This is LP Soon. This is the place that you can call home. And these are the brothers and sisters that want to walk through life together with you. Will you pray with me? God, thank you for this story of Daniel, God, that it can inspire us to be obedient to you. God, that we do not have to walk through life alone, that we do not have to do this by ourselves. God, you call us to unity. You call us to do this together. And may this space be a place of home, that we get to come and talk and have the hard conversations with each other, and that we get to link arms and encourage each other and lift each other up. God, thank you for community. We love you, and we pray. Amen.